Let's get straight to it. Number 1. You've developed advanced emotional self-sufficiency. There's a question people always ask when they discover you prefer staying home. Don't you get lonely? And the truth is, loneliness and being alone are not the same thing. You've learned the difference, and it's changed everything. What you've developed is what attachment theory calls secure solitude. You don't need constant connection to feel emotionally regulated. You don't require external validation to know your worth. You've built an internal emotional ecosystem that sustains you without constant input from others. This doesn't mean you don't value relationships. It means you've stopped outsourcing your emotional stability to other people. You can sit with yourself in silence without spiraling into existential dread or reaching for your phone to fill the void. That's not isolation, that's integration. Most people are terrified of being alone with their own thoughts. They need noise, distraction, or company to avoid confronting themselves. But you've done the inner work that makes solitude feel safe rather than threatening. You've made peace with who you are when no one is watching, and that's a level of psychological maturity that many people never achieve. Neuroscience shows that people comfortable with extended solitude often have stronger connectivity in the brain's default mode network, the system responsible for self-reflection, introspection, and meaning-making. When you're alone at home, your brain isn't idle. It's consolidating experiences, processing emotions, and integrating your sense of self in ways that require uninterrupted quiet. This is why forced socializing feels so jarring to you. It interrupts a process that's crucial to your psychological well-being. You're not avoiding people. You're protecting the space where you become more fully yourself. People who lack this capacity often mistake your self-sufficiency for coldness or detachment. They can't imagine being content without constant social contact, so they assume you must be suffering in silence, but you know the truth. You're not lonely at home, you're complete, and that completeness doesn't require anyone else's presence to validate it. This trait is perhaps the most misunderstood of all, because it threatens the social narrative that connection is the only path to happiness. But you've discovered something deeper. That true connection with others is only possible when you're first connected to yourself. And that connection requires solitude, silence, and the sanctuary of home. Number 2. You have a low tolerance for performative socializing. If you love staying home, you've likely noticed a painful pattern when you do go out. Most people aren't actually listening to each other. They're just waiting for their turn to speak. You find large social gatherings draining, not because you're shy, but because they're often filled with surface-level noise. You would rather sit in silence than participate in a conversation where people are wearing masks, trying to impress each other, or faking interest. Your home is the one place where you don't have to perform, you don't have to dress up, you don't have to smile when you aren't happy, and you don't have to explain yourself. You value authenticity so highly that you'd rather be alone than surrounded by people who are just pretending. This isn't antisocial behavior. It's what psychologists call high authenticity orientation. Your nervous system has developed a keen detector for emotional dishonesty, and when it senses inauthenticity, it triggers the same stress response as physical danger. Your brain is protecting you from what it perceives as a threat to your psychological integrity. Research in social neuroscience shows that people with high authenticity orientation experience genuine distress in performative environments. Their anterior cingulate cortex, the part of the brain that detects conflict between values and actions, shows heightened activity in situations requiring emotional pretense. You're not being difficult. Your brain is simply refusing to operate in a mode that conflicts with your core values. When you choose to stay home rather than attend yet another obligation where you'll have to fake enthusiasm, you're making a deeply intelligent decision. You're choosing psychological congruence over social approval, and that takes remarkable self-awareness. Number 3, you possess high sensory intelligence. For many people, a loud restaurant or a crowded street is just a Friday night, but for you, it feels like an assault on your nervous system. Psychology suggests that homebodies often score higher on sensory processing sensitivity. You notice the noise, the chaotic energy, and the demands of the environment more intensely than others. When you stay home, you aren't just sitting there. You're controlling your environment. You're curating the lighting, the temperature, and the sound levels. This isn't about fear, it's about optimization. You've learned that your brain works like a high-performance computer. It runs best when it isn't overheating from the data of 1,000 strangers. Neuroscience calls this sensory gating, and yours operates at a different threshold than most people's. While others can filter out background noise and visual clutter automatically, your brain processes more of the raw sensory input from your environment. This means you experience the world in higher definition, but it also means you reach cognitive overload faster. Think of it this way: most people have a sensory intake valve that automatically restricts input. Yours is wider, which means you collect more information, notice more details, and experience more depth. The trade-off is that you need more recovery time. Your home becomes essential, not optional. It's where you decompress from the sensory bombardment that others don't even register. This is why a quiet evening at home can feel more restorative than a week-long vacation for you. You're not missing out on life. You're engaging with it so fully when you're out that you need substantial downtime to process it all. Your preference for home isn't avoidance. It's the necessary counterbalance to your heightened perceptual system. Number 4, you have a strong internal locus of fulfillment. Society thinks you're doing nothing at home, but you're likely busier than anyone knows. You're reading, creating, learning, building, or simply thinking deeply about ideas that matter to you. While others need external stimulation to feel alive, you generate your own sense of meaning from within. This is what psychologists call an internal locus of fulfillment, and it's one of the strongest predictors of long-term life satisfaction. You don't need a crowd to validate your existence. You don't need constant activity to feel productive. You've developed the rare ability to be genuinely content in your own company, pursuing interests that require sustained focus and solitude. Your home isn't a hiding place. It's a laboratory of the self. It's where you experiment with new skills, work through complex problems, and engage in the kind of deep work that's impossible in fragmented, distraction-filled environments. While the world equates visibility with value, you understand that the most meaningful work often happens in private. Research on creativity and productivity consistently shows that breakthroughs require extended periods of uninterrupted solitude. Your preference for staying home isn't laziness. It's an unconscious alignment with the conditions that foster genuine growth and innovation. You're not withdrawn. You're deeply engaged with pursuits that matter to you, pursuits that don't require an audience to have value. People often mistake your absence from social events as disinterest in life, but the opposite is true. You're so interested in developing your capacities and exploring your curiosities that you protect the time and space required to do so. That's not isolation, that's intentional living. Number 5, you practice superior energy economics. Here's what most people don't understand about your preference for home. You're not conserving energy because you have less of it. You're allocating it with precision because you understand its value. Psychology recognizes this as high conscientiousness paired with interoceptive awareness. You can feel when your energy reserves are depleting, and you respond proactively rather than pushing through until you crash. This is an advanced form of self-regulation that most people never develop. Every social interaction, every environmental demand, every switch in context costs you energy. You've done the math, often unconsciously, and you've realized that many social obligations offer negative returns. They drain more than they give. So you opt out, not because you're incapable of handling them, but because you've evolved past the need to prove that you can. This is what economists call opportunity cost analysis, applied to your life energy. When you decline an invitation to stay home, you're not choosing nothing over something. You're choosing reading over small talk, creation over consumption, deep rest over shallow entertainment, meaningful solitude over obligatory togetherness. Your friends might interpret this as flakiness or disinterest, but you're actually demonstrating something far more sophisticated. You're refusing to spend your most valuable resource on experiences that don't align with your values or contribute to your well-being. That's not selfishness, that's self-respect. Research in positive psychology shows that people who actively manage their energy based on internal signals rather than external expectations report higher levels of sustained happiness and lower rates of burnout. You're not missing out on life by staying home. You're engineering a life that works for your specific operating system. If you recognize yourself in these traits, understand this. Your preference for home isn't a flaw that needs fixing. It's a feature of a nervous system that values depth over breadth, authenticity over performance, and intentional solitude over obligatory socializing. I'll be sharing more videos like this on emotional growth, psychology, and self-understanding. Subscribe if this content resonates.